Hello everyone, it's Cheryl Zwalji again here from Astral Connections, and here with me I have Tracy Rae Moore. Tracy Rae is an emotional alchemist, amongst many other things. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
So Tracy's also presented a few times at Astral now and awakened many healers, I think. Tell us a little bit about your past, your childhood. What brought you on this path?
Well, I didn't start discovering this until adulthood. My childhood had a substantial dysfunction. Let's just say substantial dysfunction.
All right. Do you want to talk about it a little bit so people can get a feel for
what I do want to talk about?
Absolutely.
Is the idea that almost everyone has some dysfunction.
Absolutely. Yep.
And what I discovered as I was healing from my dysfunction, or from my dysfunctional upbringing, was that as I was healing, my healer began to unfold within me.
Beautiful. And so what did you start noticing that made you feel that something was awakening within you?
It started with people would come to me kind of talking about difficulties that they would have, and things would just start falling out of my mouth. And I would just be like, okay, don't know where that come from. But
so
it was just...
What part of your life was this in, would you say? Early years?
Yeah, it was probably late 20s.
Okay.
And then time continued on, and I went to a retreat, and at the retreat there was, by the end of the retreat, it was like I could see energies, so a new part had unfolded.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of what would happen is, if I put the intention on an individual, I would get shown their innermost healer, or their innermost being. And then many times we have a tendency of putting protection or blocks around that innermost. So I would get shown that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would show me how that affected their lives.
Okay. Now you keep saying it. It showed me. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what
I would just get shown it. I didn't know what it was. So I would get shown these pictures.
Okay. So images in your mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it wasn't only my mind. I could literally feel it.
Excellent. Yeah. Beautiful.
So when I would see someone's innermost being, I would experience just this incredible sense of awe. And it was just like, wow, like almost like you're in the presence of God.
What a beautiful, beautiful description.
Yeah, or in the presence of Source,
right?
However you want to call that.
Right.
So that's what I would experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it would just like, that would flood me, and I was just like, okay. And then.
So how did you discover what that was that you were experiencing then?
I asked questions and I got told.
Okay.
So from there, it kind of, I just kind of sat back and I let
it happen.
Let that happen for quite a few years. And then there was one day that I was out with a friend of mine, and I literally had this thought that it felt like it went in one ear
and out the other,
and
and didn't go out the other.
brightened in my mind and then went out the other. Like it literally went in my mind. I thought about it and it left. And the thought was, I wonder if I could use this as a method of healing as opposed to just observe it. And then it was gone. So I just kind of went back to, I was doing some sort of artwork. And then months later...
We'll talk about Tracy's artwork later.
Months later, I decided to do this bodywork trade with a woman I had just met. And
So what does that mean, a bodywork trade?
well, I would do like sometimes just a form of acupressure, just stuff like that.
Okay.
Just stuff that I knew somehow, somewhere how to do, but it was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to do this. So she started doing her session on me first. And while she's doing this session on me, she's almost like she's pulling things out of me. She's going, oh, do you do this? And I'd be, yeah, well, but you know. So I would kind of discount it,
Right.
thinking that it wasn't much.
Right.
And then, so she did that with many things,
Right.
many pieces of information. And then one piece of information that she kind of pulled out, she goes, you have a gift, and you're meant to use it as a method of healing, not just observing. And my jaw dropped, and it was like, oh shit. So
Beep.
So from there it was like,
Because you remembered that thought that went through your mind. and
exactly.
Yeah.
And it was like, uh-oh. So I kind of phoned some friends of mine and I said, this just happened. Can I practice on you? And one of my friends says, well, I've been waiting for you to ask.
Right. Aww.
So I did some practices on my friends. And then after some practicing, I decided to put just kind of an ad up on Craigslist of, okay, I'm willing to do this. And I had a guy from, or a couple from Africa contact me. And he had a tumor in his lymph nodes.
Wow.
So for a while, I would connect with them on Skype, and I would literally work on them while I was connecting with him on Skype. And he could feel when I was doing different things.
Right.
And so it was like, okay. So after 2 weeks, he had gone to the doctor and the top of the tumor had collapsed. It's like, okay, I think that's good. So from there, I went to, okay, let's just continue.
Right.
And then,
So do you know how this couple got in touch with you? Why they chose you, or what led them to you? Did they tell you their story?
nope. They were in Johannesburg. And just that he had cancer in his lymph nodes, and he was in a lot of pain. And they had seen my ad on Craigslist.
That's amazing.
So it was like, okay. And I was charging pretty cheap.
Yeah.
So I just continued, and within a month it had gone into dormancy.
Wow.
But then after that, like, I was only treating that one tumor. I wasn't treating his whole body. So after that, I found out that,
Well, you were healing it. You weren't treating it, right? You
Right.
were helping.
I was
Yeah.
working with the
Energizing
energy.
it, yeah.
So, but after that, I got told that, and shown that there were other tumors popping up in other parts of his body. And I said, well, what the hell? Why is this happening? I was asking energy this, right? And the information that I got told was he was in an extremely toxic environment. So I started asking questions. What are the toxins like around where you are? And apparently Johannesburg is like absolutely horrible for toxins. So his body just couldn't handle all the toxins. And I said, I'm sorry, but you have to leave where you are if you're going to live. I can't treat all of the different tumors that are popping up in your body. So they had to leave. And of course they were terrified and everything like that, but what choice did they have?
Right.
So from there I started saying, this is kind of scary.
Yeah, I don't really want to do this. This is a big responsibility. I know that feeling too.
Yeah, I was kind of like, you know what? That's a lot of power to put in somebody's hands.
Yeah.
And how do I know that I can trust the information that I'm getting?
Absolutely.
That's just a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of pulled back, and I started doing some workshops so I could start to hone my own, what was happening inside of me.
So would you be willing to share what kind of workshops you took?
Oh yeah, sure. I took at a workshop on EFT.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm an EFT practitioner.
That's tapping, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I took, by this time I already had like my second degree in Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
So then I took Matrix Energetics,
Mm-hmm.
became a Matrix Energetics practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
Took just other little workshops just so I could start to get a handle on, okay, exactly
What's happening
is,
to you,
yeah.
and how can you know for sure?
Exactly. So after a while of taking all these workshops, I just kind of decided, you know what, rather than putting myself out as an expert of this or an expert of that or an expert of this, I just said, I'm just going to pull back those and I'm going to say, I'm embracing my gift to serve you. Because that's kind of what it's about anyway.
Absolutely it is.
Right? And everybody has the gifts inside of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to promote that as opposed to the idea of, I'm these type of experts and you have to take these things in order to become
this. Right?
Yeah. So that that's kind of where that went.
Okay.
And then in the summer of 2011, actually, let me back up.
Sure.
I started kind of combining my artwork with the healing. So
let's talk about your artwork a little bit then.
yeah, okay.
You're, well, an artist. And what motivated you and what kind of art did you get into?
I started with, I've done artwork probably most of my adult life. So when I was pregnant with my daughter, I had a woman show me the concept of wire wrap. And I just kind of went, wow, okay, I could do this and I could do that. And it just went from this little concept of wire work, and I just went,
Yeah.
And so everything, all my artwork is completely self-taught.
Right.
And I would play, just let my fingers walk into whatever it is I wanted to create.
Right.
And then as I was doing treatments on people, I found that some of the treatments that I was doing on people were a little too much. Like I did a treatment on one woman, and when she went home that day, she experienced her body to shatter. She had to lie down for a nap, and while she's lying down for this nap, her experience was that her body shattered.
Wow.
And it's like, I don't know that I'm comfortable sending people home with that. I mean, yes, she was able to handle that.
Right. But you didn't even know you were gonna. It was expected, so like
Yeah.
you weren't sending her home with it. It was just her experience after the fact, really.
Yeah, but if the work that I'm doing with somebody,
It's creating that.
if it's that much of
strain.
an experience, then
You didn't want to be there.
I kind of want to find
Gentle
a
it
way
down.
to that to find a way that's not so
Absolutely.
walloping, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was experiencing is when I would do a session on somebody and then they were finding that they needed something more or things to that effect, I would create a pendant that I would custom program for them. And that would kind of carry it forward, but in a much more gentle way.
Right.
And then this Christmas of 2008, I had a goddess group that I was part of. And I had wanted to make the group Christmas gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wanted to kind of give them a session.
Right. As your gift.
Yes. And so I decided to make pendants that I pre-programmed, and then I had their bodies choose the right one for them.
Right.
And that was the start of my pendants.
Wow. Wow.
And then it went from pendants to, actually,
You're wearing one of them right
Yes.
now, aren't you?
Yeah.
So is this program for you?
Yes.
It's beautiful. Tell us about this one.
This one I made before I had done my very first conference, where I was going to take my pendants and I was going to sell them as, okay, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. I was terrified. It was like, oh my God, what are you doing, woman? So I just really felt like I was putting myself out there.
Right.
And it was a little scary. So I made this pendant to assist me with that.
With the fear of that, okay.
Yes. and for it to...
So does that mean you're video shy and that's why you're wearing that right now?
No. No. It was... I wore this because I wear this with this outfit.
Okay.
And I wanted to wear this outfit, so...
Excellent.
So yeah, I just... That's kind of how the pendants started. And how I would program them is when I started programming the pendants, basically, I wouldn't focus on a particular illness or a particular block.
Right.
Because what I found is, okay, if I'm going to focus on that block, isn't that block just going to grow? Because what you focus on grows, right?
Or can grow, yeah.
Yeah. And then also the idea of, well, if I focus on that block, it might get defensive. Because a block can become defensive.
Right.
So I was kind of like, I don't want to focus on that.
I see the alchemy part now.
So what I decided to do was I decided to focus on the energy that surrounded that block and held it in place. And I started to see that energy in patterns.
Oh, okay.
And what I discovered is, okay, if I shift these patterns away, the block falls away and dissipates.
Wow.
It's like, oh, okay, I'll do that then. So I started programming the pendants to shift energy patterns, these energy patterns. And then...
So these energy patterns, were they consistent, or did they have a particular shape, or was it very individual to what the individual was? Or
Well, kind of how I set it up was I'd talk to the pendant and I'd find out what pattern it wanted to shift. And then I'd program it to shift that pattern. And then...
So you're relying on the pendants knowing the individual that it's going to.
Yep.
Okay.
And then literally I would program it to shift that. And I'd know that pendant would find who it's meant to be with. And then after a while of having the pendants shift energy patterns, in 2010, I felt a little stuck. And I decided, okay, I need to do something with this. So I went back to the retreat where I had been previous, like 12 years before, where that big unfolding had happened. And so I went back to that, and I did another retreat with them. And at the same time, I had a friend of mine do a family constellation.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about family constellations?
Sure. Family constellations are looking at and acknowledging the stories that need to be told with our ancestors.
In our own lives.
Yeah, like say my ancestors.
Yes.
The particular family constellation that my friend did, what we discovered was I had an ancestor that was, I guess, the go-to healer of a particular community. This particular community, the whole community had their gifts open and they would use them regularly.
Wow.
And there were some third party that came in and attempted to...
Shut everything down.
No, they wanted to exploit my ancestors' gifts.
Okay.
My ancestors said no. So they tortured him to death. That story needed to be told.
Right.
In order for the energy to dissipate. So
Now, have you been able to historically trace back this ancestor and what happened?
I haven't tried.
Okay.
But so when that story got told, I discovered that I was the first in my family to accept the gift. But I also discovered that I only had one foot in my gift. The other foot was doing everything it possibly could not to step in. And so...
Yeah, okay.
It was like, I don't think so.
Oh, jeez.
So, with the support of my ancestors, I stepped both feet in. And I had an incredible, very, very intense buzz start at my feet, move all the way up my body till it moved up, like to the top of my head and out. But after that, it was like I had
instant knowing of some kind, or?
Well, my relationship to life changed. And I felt like I was shaking all the time. And I kept on looking. I'd check if I was shaking. Nope, not shaking. What's going on? And I got told that there was new energy being introduced into my cells from that process. So it was like, oh, okay. And what I experienced in terms of my relationship to life, it's like I approached life with the attitude of, okay, let's engage with life, as opposed to avoiding discomfort.
Right.
So that was huge.
Right.
And then from there...
So you're going all feet in now instead of 1 foot dilly-dallying around.
Yeah. Okay. And then I was like, okay, well, I wanted to kind of expand the stuff that I was doing. And so I started creating pendants that I just programmed to resonate the frequency of love. Just unconditional, complete love.
Right.
And then that branched out, and I did some to resonate the frequency of joy.
Absolutely.
And then some with gratitude.
Right.
And then some with wisdom.
Right.
And it was like, oh, okay, well. And then I in the summer of 2011, my mother passed away. And after some really intensive grieving, which is, again,
which is
how
natural and normal, and we
exactly
have to go through.
Exactly. But
Your
once
mother,
again,
after all.
it's a process of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And once I went through that, it was like a new unfolding happened. So I got this dream that I had a school that taught people how to awaken the healer within. So people came to this school wanting to learn this. And it was on Salt Spring Island in the dream. And it was like, oh, wow. So when I first woke up, my focus was on Salt Spring Island, and I thought, And my fiance, boyfriend at that time, but fiance now, had said, his brother lives on Salt Spring Island, and we had been talking about going to visit him.
Right.
So that's what my first thought was,
Right.
Well, it must be because we've been talking about it.
Right.
Because the whole subconscious, what
Yeah.
you've been talking about or what's in your mind,
Right.
that's
it
where
came up
you're...
in your dreams, yeah.
Exactly. So, and then I went over
That's your analytical mind, right?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So then I went over to a friend of mine's and I told her about this dream, and she's going, whoa, back up. I think you need to pay attention to this. So then I started developing the workshops on, okay, well, what does this look like? So I started developing a couple of workshops on these things. And as I started doing that, it was like, wow. Like I felt parts of me starting to come alive. And I noticed really young, hunky men interested. And I was like, oh.
It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, my friend's going, okay, whatever you got, I want some. So that was kind of an interesting aspect.
Experience.
Yeah. But so that's kind of how I developed the workshops. And as I would give the workshops, they would evolve a little bit more,
Right.
to the point now where I've got one 2 to 3 hour one that I gave at Astral Connections.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then I've got one kind of 8 session one where I stretch out between every 2 weeks to once every month. So people have lots of room to process the stuff that we deal with in the workshops.
Right.
It also starts with one of my pendants on the individual to open that part of them.
Right.
Because basically what we're doing is we're discovering and accessing.
So the 8-week workshop, anyone who attends this 8 session or 8 week or 8 however many, whatever the form is, will receive a pendant, correct?
Correct. Yes. And the purpose is so it can open that part of them that's the natural gifts within them that heal the world.
Right.
Or that heal, regardless of whether it's the world or what have you.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever is for them.
Exactly. And then, in addition, at the end of that workshop, they create their own pendant that they also program.
And so you teach them the process so that they can pass this gift on to someone else in the future if they believe in it. Or
The idea is for them to be able to
experience
it, and then the same as I did with that simple process of wire wrap,
Yeah.
it just kind of went where it wanted to go, right? And it unfolded how it wanted to unfold.
Right.
So each individual that comes and takes my workshop, they're creating a pendant, and if they let it, it can bloom and it can unfold how it wants to.
Right. It's that relationship with them. And I'll
Yeah.
just show everyone the one that Tracy made me. And that's that one here. And I actually received it today, but she made it energetically for me in the past. And as a result of the one she made for me, I've seen changes occur after the point that I'd energetically worn it, as she puts it. So what does that mean? What does it mean to energetically wear a pendant?
Basically, in the energetic world, there is no distance.
Mm-hmm.
So I can put something on somebody at my home, which I call virtual. So I create a virtual individual of that person.
Okay.
And then I put the pendant or the large piece or what have you on them, and then it affects them from my home.
Right.
I also put
We'll show you some of the large pieces too.
I also program multiple odd objects that I put on as grounding and support, so the individual can be in the best possible place, on the best possible foundation, so they can completely let the work be done by the pendant that it wants to do.
Okay. So I'm just going to be God's advocate for a second.
Okay.
And ask you the question that if the power's within, what purpose does something externally serve to what's within?
Well, sometimes, due to beliefs or whatever's going on inside of us,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that inside needs a little help,
Okay.
needs a little bit of a boost, if you will,
Right.
to
And ultimately it's the individual's
Facilitate it.
choice to facilitate it. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And so really this is a temporary thing because ultimately everything is in here anyways, correct?
Sometimes it all depends.
Right.
If, for example, this pendant, if I were to give it away and I weren't to have it anymore, then some of my old patterns of being fearful of being exposed or being raw out there and saying, this is what I do, because it is pretty out of the box. Sometimes
Dependent may carry that with it.
sometimes I might go back to how I was before. This just helps me.
Stay centered, stay
Yeah.
focused.
Imagine if literally the possibilities are
Endless.
literally endless.
Yeah.
Okay. But I've had people do energy work on me when they've said the possibilities are endless and I'm gonna change this and I'm gonna change that. And I've walked away and not held it.
Yes, I understand that concept. 'Cause
Okay. For
I've
some
had
reason.
healing that's worked for a few days and then whatever, and it returns, whatever the situation
Yeah.
is. Yes, absolutely. Okay.
So something in my body isn't allowing the process to stay with me.
Yeah.
So with the pendants, and
There is an energetic message that stays independent with the body that
Yeah.
keeps it.
and the beauty of the pieces that I create is they never lose their programming. so they never need to be reprogrammed.
Okay.
And they never need to be energetically cleaned.
Okay.
They don't pick up, they can't be infused with somebody's energy. Many times with crystals, you'll find that people say, oh no, don't touch my crystal because I don't want your energy infused on my crystal.
Yes, and in fact we were just reading an article just last night that a virus was transferred into a crystal. And so that crystal was carrying that virus, and when they changed that crystal to just glass, it didn't transfer into that crystal. So scientifically, there's evidence to that too.
Right. So the thing with my pieces is because they're already full, nobody can infuse anything else into them. Because they're full. They're not gonna take in more energy.
Okay.
So any negative energy that's out in the world isn't going to be put into the crystal or into the pendant.
So it's your intent that does that then, is that right?
No, it's how they get programmed. They get completely full and they stay full.
Okay.
I don't know how, but they do.
Okay.
And even with the pieces that
The larger pieces.
no, even if the pieces that get created, that individuals create in my workshops,
Yes.
same thing.
Okay.
They stay full. Call it magic, whatever you want to call it.
Alchemy?
Could be.
Interesting. And so would you say then the filler then isn't you and the filler is source?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's funny because even pendants that are programmed to resonate the frequency of love or joy or what have you.
Yeah, we've had samples of Tracy's pendants in the store, and for those of you who are sensitive and can feel, and you know, when you sense, there is a difference in sense between the different pendants, and you'll feel it. You absolutely will.
Yeah. So yeah, and even if you have two pendants that are programmed to resonate the frequency of joy, say, those two pieces feel different. I don't know how. They just do.
That's well, the how is not for you to know.
That's right. It's not for me to know. It's not for me to know how it is that it stays full. It's not for me to know how they're different, even though, like, the odd objects that I program. Some of them are buttons. Some of them are river stones. Some of them are glass pieces, like glass stones like these.
Well, ultimately, they're all energy, right?
Right.
Maybe we can show you this piece here. And it's a beautiful piece, and we'll show it to you later.
But the point is, you can have two pieces that look exactly the same, but energetically feel very different.
Right.
Not for me to know how.
So tell everyone then about the workshop a little more in detail, so what they'll experience in the 8 weeks, if you can.
Basically, what we do is we ignite those natural gifts within each of the individuals. We clear away some of the debris that's blocking that access. And sometimes that's sometimes it's done through a way of just looking at what wants to happen energetically.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's through art. Sometimes it's through writing. Literally, as I move through the workshop, every exercise, I stop before we start the exercise. I stop and say, I ask, what wants to happen now? And when I'm given the information, this is what wants to happen, that's what we do.
So, the last time we promoted the workshops, I was actually asked by a mother if she could bring her 11-year-old daughter because she loves crystals. How do you feel about that? And we were already running the workshop, so I told her the next time I'd ask you. So is there an age variance, or is there age limit?
There isn't, because what wants to happen will happen.
Absolutely.
And for an 11-year-old daughter to come, or for an 11-year-old child to come,
Makes no difference.
no. It just gets, whatever wants to happen will happen.
So where do you see yourself going from here? Because
Well, I've just, my latest thing, I've added a couple new
we
products.
have to show everyone the wands too. How did those
Yes.
come to be?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I actually, one of the pieces that I made for myself was a wand. And then I was showing somebody, and then there was another part that happened where a friend of mine had found an eagle bone
An eagle bone.
and had given me the eagle bone. And I said, oh, I really want to make a wand out of this. And then I made the wand, and after making that wand, it was just like, oh my God, I gotta get going on these wands, because
So what were you feeling the purpose of the wands was? You don't know. You just
I
had to
don't-
make them.
yeah, exactly. I never know. It's just, oh my God, I just really got to do this.
Right.
And then the other latest product is the ear cuffs.
Oh, interesting.
So if you just see
Yeah.
here,
Yeah, I see that.
and they just come right off.
Yeah, so they're not pressing on any meridian
Nope.
points or anything.
Nope.
They're just hanging in
They're
there.
very, very comfortable and everything like that. So when I make an ear cuff, I make it custom to the person's ear.
Right.
And then we program it with what their body wants it to be programmed with, to address whatever issue they want.
I like that, and they're not piercing anything, because I was talking to an acupuncturist who explained to me that anything that pierces the ear other than the earlobe is very dangerous, because we have meridian points all along there, and that you're piercing them is cutting into the energy of the meridian.
Yeah, yeah.
So
this doesn't.
yeah, excellent.
And I had a woman do a custom order of a ring. She had cut off the top of her finger.
What?
And so she wanted a ring to kind of cover
Oh,
that,
yes.
right? So the ring was
I know someone else
cover
like that
this.
who likes to cover things.
So it was a ring that just went on the top of her finger.
Right.
And it wanted to be programmed to resonate the frequency of joy.
Right.
So we did that. And after about 2 to 3 months of her wearing the ring, she says, oh, well, what I notice is just more joy in my life.
Wow.
I'm just more joyful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And so, really, you could design anything for anyone if someone wants a custom ring or a custom earring or
Yeah, I can design whatever.
energetically appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Mind you, it's not necessarily going to look exactly the way they want it to.
Right.
It's going to look the way energy wants it to.
Absolutely. So, It seems I've exhausted my questions. Is there anything you want to share with the audience?
I did bring some wands.
You did. So Tracy brought some of her beautiful pieces with her, some of her beautiful artwork with crystals. We got some wands here, we got some bigger pieces, and well, you saw her pendant and I showed you mine. And so I'm just going to show you some of her wands now, and she's going to tell us about them as I show you. So tell us about this one, Tracy.
So this is the wand of personal power.
Okay, wow. It's beautiful. What makes it the wand of personal power? Energy, spirit. Yes, I know.
Yeah, that's just what it told me it was.
Okay.
So basically, we all have, or many people, not all, but many people have difficulty standing in their own power. And it's something that I really encourage people to do. Learn to stand in your own power. Learn to find out what that feels like when you're in your power and when you're not in your power.
Wow. Okay. That's your personal power. Then we have, I'm not going to drop any, don't worry. We have this one here.
And this is the wand of change.
Of change. Here, I'm going to try and put this down here. So tell us about the wand of change. How did these wands come about to be exactly?
A friend of mine had found an eagle bone, and
Yes, you mentioned
I really wanted to make a wand from it. So that's kind of how it started, and I had previously bought a whole bunch of these crystals. And so they're kind of all sitting in a similar place.
Is that blue quartz?
That's blue quartz, yes.
Okay.
And so they're all kind of sitting in a similar place, and I just, after I made the wand with the eagle bone, I just really wanted to make more. So
Wow. And there's like, you've got leather here, you've got copper, you've got the crystals.
yeah.
They're so fun.
And each one comes with a certificate that says what stones are in it, the properties of those stones, and the properties of the metal and the leather and all of that stuff.
So when Tracy first showed me these, this is the one I was extremely drawn to. So tell us about this one.
This is the wand of spirit connection.
Connection.
Or connection.
Astral Connections.
Connection to spirit, actually.
Right. Beautiful.
And again,
also
it's
got
another
the
blue
quartz.
crystal.
Yeah.
Blue quartz crystal.
And now this also has blue quartz. And this one's also spirit connection because I'm drawn to this too.
Yes, this is I call it slightly different, spirit connection as opposed to connection to spirit.
Right.
And it does have some different stones in it.
Right. Beautiful. And then we have this one.
This one is the wand of prosperity.
Wow. And these names were all given by spirit to them, right?
Yeah, I asked what the name wanted to be, and so I got told.
Beautiful. They're beautiful. They really are.
Thank you.
And then this one's
This is
a branch.
It is a branch. This is the wand of nurturing love. And I really like how it kind of winds.
Yes.
Almost like
you can hold it. Yeah.
It can wrap itself around
Oh, yeah.
how it...
Beautiful. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
There's another one.
And this is the wand of interrelation. We have a relationship with everything in the world. And how we relate to it will determine how that relationship goes. For example, after the constellation, I related to life differently.
Right.
So yes.
And different shifts cause us to relate to life differently.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting that the next ones will be musical. So I share that. Cool.
And then this large piece
Yes.
is called The Wizard's Playground.
I've seen many of these large pieces, and each one of them is very, very unique. And some of them, I don't think this one does, but even have lights in them. Yeah, this one doesn't.
So yes, included in this one is agate.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 large pieces of agate in it, selenite, and some pyrite.
Right.
And then also quartz crystals.
Yeah, this is quartz agate, isn't it?
No, that's an agate.
Right.
And then a Brazilianite.
Right. Wow, it's beautiful. It really is.
And even the little bench. When I was doing it, I wanted a very ornate bench to sit in it. And I looked on the internet for a bench like I wanted, and I couldn't find one, so I made it.
I think we should also have some creative classes next time around, so you can teach people how you make some of these and open up the creativity in them. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks, Tracy. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure. Thank you.